or gold in my IRA account. What's coming up? April 15th, tax day, right around the corner. You want to put physical gold in your IRA or your SEP IRA, and I only do it with Swiss America, period. I wouldn't let anyone else touch my gold. All right, so we've still got Megan Barth here. Say hi, Megan.
Hello.
And,
Hi.
I was just telling Megan that when I get back, I leave tomorrow for a 2-week business trip to Asia. And when I get back on Thursday, the 9th of March, Fiore, the Italian-American Club of Las Vegas, is throwing an event just for me. It's the Italianization of Wayne event, and I become Italian that day. So Megan has a name for me now. Go ahead, Megan, tell everyone.
I'm the I-Jew.
I'm the I-Jew. Just like an iPhone, I'm an I-Jew. An Italian Jew, an I-Jew. So it is the Wayne Becomes Italian event, the Italianization of Wayne.
This is amazing.
March 9th. And the reason I bring it up is because Nelson Sardelli is in studio. He is the president of Fiore, the Italian-American Club.
I've heard it's great.
An actor, singer, entertainer, personality. And Nelson's in at 5 o'clock hour. He'll be sitting in the studio to talk about the Italianization of Wayne. We'll find out what it all means. I'm not quite sure what I have to do yet. I know I'm going to be probably stomping on grapes in my underwear, something like that. And so in front of hundreds of people, that should be fun. But it will be a fun day because I grew up the only Jew in an all-Italian neighborhood, and I always wanted to be Italian. I'm finally making it at the age of 55. So I think it's really cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And by the way, all of you are invited. Megan, you are definitely invited.
Really?
You always want to go to the Italian. It is
Okay.
Thursday, March 9th.
I'll stop on grapes.
Thursday, March 9th at 11:30 in the morning till about 1:30. It's like a 2-hour event. 11:30 to 1:30. I have blacked out. So anyway, hour and a half, 2 hours. Something like that. The Italian American Club. Nelson will tell you how to get tickets, and we can arrange all that. Of course, Megan is coming as my guest.
Well,
of course.
thank you.
But the rest of you, too bad. You have to pay. Just so you know. Okay? There's no
Come
freebies.
witness the coronation of the I-Jew.
Yeah. All right. So I-Jew wants to talk about the hot topics in the news. But before I get to them, I will discuss more importantly with Megan that my commentary this morning in the RJ, how many of you saw it, about Starbucks and what a jerk the CEO of Starbucks is, Howard Schultz, who bought a $40 million condo in Manhattan just a few days ago. And I made the comment that I guarantee you every person in this building is 100% white. There were no Muslims in that building. Guarantee you. And there's definitely no Muslim refugees in that building.
No.
If there's a Muslim, he's a Saudi prince.
Right. And I bet there's like armed guards in the front, and there's
Right.
probably like a wall.
Right. and they said the funny thing is he didn't just buy a $40 million home. He bought it to go along with his $25 million home on Fifth Avenue, and to go along with his $25 million mansion on the beach in Hawaii, and to go along with his mansion in Seattle, and to go along with his mansion on the beach in the Hamptons. So do you think there are any black people near any of those homes? Do you think there's any Muslims near any of those homes? Do you think there's any illegal alien Hispanics other than servers, waiters, yard maintenance men, gardeners, toilet bowl cleaning maids? Other than that, you think there's any Hispanics near him? No. And I wrote that in the article. And Starbucks contacted me within minutes of my waking up this morning.
Good job.
And
that's how you know you're doing it when you
exactly
get the response. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what do flyboys say. You know, the Hero Air Force guys. The flak gets heavier when you're over the target. And so I know that liberals are reading and listening to everything I do and say. I know that everything I say in interviews and here on this radio show, but also in my radio interviews, gets picked up by Right Wing Watch. And they have, me and all the horrible extreme people like Newt Gingrich and Sarah Palin and whatever. They quote us all nonstop ad nauseum, and they're constantly quoting me. They grab headlines out of context. Everything I say is no good. And so that's how you know you're winning the battle. And they're paying attention. And so Starbucks global vice president of communications contacted me, and we had a little repartee over email with each other. Contacted me and the RJ, by the way, made sure all of my editors were CC'd. And I answered him back, probably shocked him. And he kind of refuted everything I said point by point, and I refuted all of his refutations point by point. I don't know if that's a word, refutation. But all of his refutes, I refuted. I don't know. But anyway, after I refuted his refuting, I never heard from him again. Gone, disappeared, goodbye, have a nice life. And he also shows you how closely they watch things and how arrogant and nitpicky. After I'd sent him the refutation, again, I don't know if that's a word, but after I refuted his refutings, his mad refutings, he sent back one more email that said, and by the way, you didn't even spell Howard Schultz's name right. I said, wait a minute. I went and looked at the article I sent to the RJ, spelled right every time. And I went to the RJ column. I went out in the driveway, got the RJ, and spelled right every time. So I emailed it back and said, what are you talking about? It's spelled perfectly. No, not the online version. There's a misspelling. The T is missing from Schultz's last name. Just that you would even get into that argument shows you what small people they are.
Doesn't it have like something to do?
And the fact that he's reading it online, I mean, that's how he knew to contact me at 6 in the morning. It was waiting for me. You know, I get up at 5:30, and by 6, it was waiting for me. So was he writing it overnight? He must have seen it overnight, like at midnight. The RJ puts it up at like midnight, and he must have written it through the night. Probably Howard Schultz, the billionaire boss, must have assigned him to stay in the office all night and write this all night long. And by the way, one of the main things he wrote is, I said in the article, does Howard Schultz have shareholders, public company, Starbucks? Do they know that he's using company money to attack Donald Trump and to hire 10,000 refugees? And what's the cost of hiring 10,000 refugees? Why would you allow him to do that? Fire him immediately. So this guy wrote back, saying he's made shareholders 8,000% profit in the last 10 years. 8,000%. And I emailed back and said, I understand. No, but I said it nicely. I said, he's probably a great CEO. That's fabulous. Really, really, really celebrate it. Congratulations. But I never discussed that. See, if you made me 8,000% and then you dissed President Donald Trump, who I like, I tell you to go screw yourself and I'd sell your stock short. And I said, I didn't say anything about what you made their shareholders. I said, are any of your shareholders Republicans? And if so, did they approve of what he did? Because I'm betting they didn't. And then I said, I'd like to be a fly on the wall seeing all the letters you're getting from Republican shareholders of Starbucks and also Republican customers of Starbucks. Because I know all over the internet, as a matter of fact, today, I got about 50 responses from RJ readers. That's a lot. 50 plus. And I'd say 10 of them said, cutting up my Starbucks card. Now, I don't drink coffee and I don't go to Starbucks. So I didn't even know there's a Starbucks card. I guess, is it a credit card? I guess it's a credit card.
I don't go.
Or maybe it's a discount card.
I go to Perk Up. I go to the little ones.
All right, well, that's where everyone should go now. I want everyone listening to boycott Starbucks. Screw them.
I haven't set foot in a Starbucks unless I have to. If I'm in an airport and that's all they have.
All right, did you hear Donald Trump's press conference today? Because I did not. I was working all day.
It was
People told me it was fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah, I heard.
Well, you know what? This is how you measure. It's the left's reaction on how good it is, right?
Yeah, right.
And so Chuck Todd came completely unhinged.
I saw.
Did you
I saw that.
I
saw his tweets.
Yeah.
I printed them out
This
somewhere.
is un-American.
Right. To attack the press is un-American.
No, how about you guys are un-American for being propaganda arm of the DNC?
Oh, by the way, wait, I have to bring up, what does the news media say, even though all they do is spout fake news to attack us? They accuse us of fake news, right? That's Saul Alinsky in its finest. Alinsky said in his book, right? You've read it?
Yep.
Right? Whatever you see in the mirror, you attack the other guy for, right? Whatever you do, you accuse him of. So Barack Obama destroys America, and he says, the right destroys America. Barack Obama's people backing him, they're a bunch of liberal terrorists. What does he call us? Right-wing terrorists. It's always exactly the same. And so Chuck Todd said, what did he say? Fake news.
Yeah.
He used that word, fake news. What did the Starbucks communications guy say to me? I'm spreading fake news.
Oh, you're kidding.
So this is
like the echo chamber of talking points. It's like
of liberal talking
points. It's like, where is there like a centralized database that they
there
go to, like a daily one? Okay, what am
Yeah.
I going to talk about today? How am I going to say it?
Yeah.
It's your typical when you see the unions chanting and wearing all of the match. It's the same crap, right? No, Chuck Todd unhinged. Who on the White House staff has the guts to tell him this might not be the presser that will calm the waters on Capitol Hill with nervous GOPers? This is not a laughing matter. I'm sorry. Delegitimizing the press is un-American. This is my favorite, and this is how I replied to him. Press bashing may feel good to folks, but when it's done by people in power, it's corrosive. Take off your partisan hats for a second.
Yeah, when was the last time Chuck Todd took off his partisan hat?
I said, lead the way, Chuck. How about you take off your partisan hat?
Hack. No, you're right the first
your
time.
hack.
Partisan hack hat.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hack hat.
I thought I'd read some good news. We always hear bad news so often. Rasmussen reports presidential tracking poll shows that 55% of likely voters approve of President Donald Trump's performance. So, funny enough, no one knew I was going to talk about that on the show today. But my emails, out of the 50 emails from RJ readers, like 48 of them said, what a great article about Starbucks. Love you. You're the best. Can't wait to read your column. 2 of them were usual liberals saying, screw you, Wayne Root. By the way, they never had to intellectually argue. They make up sayings about your poop. I swear to God. Oh, liberals talk about your poop. You eat poop. You're a moron. You're a dog. I mean,
I get that, but I
F you.
I get that all the time.
They're just weird people. Very weird people. But anyway, one of them just happened to say, Oh, and I suppose your next article, you'll talk about Donald Trump's 55% approval rating with Rasmussen. Meanwhile, with 2 other polls, he's at 35%. So you're quoting fake news. So now let me debunk this for a second.
You can't wrap your head around this.
No, but here's the point. During the election, the liberals believed that Trump was going to lose by double digits. And now the same polls are showing he's at 35%. The only poll that showed he might win was Rasmussen, and it shows he's at 55%. He's a very popular president. The other ones are oversampling Democrats. So they're falling for the same delusional lies again. Amazing.
I think they're comfortable there.
Yeah,
I think
well,
they
of
like
course.
to be lied to. They obviously like
Of
to be lied to
course.
after 8 years of Barack Obama.
They-
Right?
they-
They would take another 4. if
Their
they wanted.
favorite lie is the economy's in recovery. They say that all day long. You know, it's like saying that, your relative is in recovery, and then they go to the doctor. So how quick will she be out of the hospital? Oh, didn't the nurse tell you? She died an hour ago. I thought she was in recovery. No, she died an hour ago. No, she's in recovery. No, she died an hour ago. That's debating liberals on the economy. Oh, the economy's great. No, it's not. Here's 18 statistics proving it's dead. No, it's in recovery. How do you know? Because that guy in the New York Times said it's in recovery. What's the guy who won the Nobel Prize for economics?
Oh, God.
Krugman.
Paul Krugman.
Krugman is the biggest moron I've ever read in my entire life, bar none.
And he gets a trophy.
a
It's like a
Pulitzer
participation.
Prize.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, when Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize, and he hadn't even been in office, 3 weeks? I mean, I knew the whole thing was just.
Well,
a
he got the
complete
Nobel
scam.
Peace Prize. Forget about he wasn't in office more than a couple weeks. He hadn't done anything.
Right.
In his whole life, he'd never created peace, and he got the Nobel Peace
Right.
Prize.
And now we have
Krugman-
ISIS. We have a Peace Prize.
Krugman's never made money, and he got the Nobel Prize for economics.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about creating jobs or money. Nothing. Zero. These people just give each
Can I
other
get a
prizes all day.
prize?
You should get the Nobel Peace Prize
should.
and the Nobel Economics Prize,
Thank you.
both of them.
Thank you.
Why not? I like it much better than giving it to Krugman and Obama. It's not even close.
Well, hey, if you can become Italian, I can
There you go.
get a prize.
Yes, you deserve a prize. All right. So, and last
Speaking
thing,
of which, did you hear about the Burger King thing over in France? They were handing out adult
What?
toys in the Valentine's
I
Day.
saw something about that, but I never wound up reading it. Adult toys was their gift at Burger King, publicly at Burger King.
Yeah, like if you went into Burger
Wow.
King over in France or something and you order, I guess it's a real Happy Meal, right? So
It's a happy ending meal. Happy ending meal. I like it.
But then the prize, it was like a feather.
I heard they have those in massage parlors in Vegas too. Happy ending meals. I've heard that.
I heard that too. Not that there's anything wrong with that. No. But
How do
no,
you
it was
tell their
like,
happy endings going on? A neon sign that says "Open all night, open all night." When you drive by those massage parlors, and they're open at 11 o'clock at night.
they're
happy
hardworking,
endings going on.
hardworking people.
Hardest working people in the world, those Asians. Love you long time. Love you long time. American GI, the best, the best. So, let me hear about the adult toys in
Well, it was
Burger
really
King.
kind of stupid. I had a comment on
First
it.
of all, listen, I enjoy sex as much as the next guy, but
Thank you, Wayne.
but-
I'm glad to
but-
know that.
but adult toys while you're eating a hamburger is kind of disgusting.
Right. And I'm sorry, but if my date takes me to Burger King, that's not very romantic.
First of all, your date takes you to Burger
Right.
King. He's a
I'm out of
loser.
the
Let's
car.
start with that.
I'm out of the
He's
car.
a loser.
But the toys were kind of a disappointment. It was a mask. Like
That's an adult toy, a mask?
I guess. Like a mask.
Like
and-
the guys like El Zorro.
You're-
I'm El Zorro. Did they give you a sword too?
On guard.
Sword to make
No,
up for
the
their
sword-
small
yeah,
French liberal penis? They give you a sword?
Exactly. A feather duster kind of thing, like a feather
That's
thing.
also to make up for the lack of French small liberal penises.
Right.
Yes.
And then, or maybe it's a French maid outfit. I don't know. And then a head massager.
Those are the
which-
worst adult toys I've
ever
heard
heard
in my
of,
life.
right?
Ever.
The French have it all wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the French drink a lot of wine, so all those toys seem really good after you've had a few drinks.
Free drink.
Last thing, then we'll go to ad break. 60% of refugee arrivals since the judge halted Trump's order have come from
Yeah.
those terror countries.
Yeah.
So is that not an attempt to destroy America by out-of-control liberals? You can't.
Like 8 years wasn't enough.
No, but I'm saying the idea that you would bring people into America from Sudan, Iraq, Iran,
How are they going to
Somalia.
contribute to this? I mean, honestly, like, are they going to assimilate? No. Are we going to get Sudanese interpreters now at our schools?
Who
This
wants
is what happens.
Somalians in America? That's like Black Hawk
Why
Down.
don't you ask Minnesota?
Black Hawk
Minnesota
Down.
is full with Somalians.
Right.
Ohio, we had a Somalian that went on a rampage, a stabbing rampage.
But here's how bright the Democratic Party is. I'm going to say a prayer out loud on the radio. Dear Jesus, I pray that Keith Ellison is elected as the DNC
I
chair.
do too.
Are you kidding me?
Dear God.
You're going to
I-
elect a Muslim as the DNC chair, and you think white middle-class America that abandoned you is going to instantly come back to you.
I bet you any money they take the Hispanic guy over the Muslim
Oh,
guy.
I think so. Perez, right? Is it Perez?
Yeah. He's a labor leader. He's the mecha,
I
leftist
thought so
Chicano
too.
organizer.
I thought so too, except there was a article, a commentary written at Fox News, where I often write things too, by Lanny Davis, the old Clinton hack.
Right.
And he wrote how wonderful and how he's supporting and endorsing Keith Ellison. He's the perfect guy to attract white middle-class voters. And, oh, by the way, Lanny, I'm Jewish, and I love Keith Ellison. Don't believe the people who tell you he's anti-Israel and he's a Muslim. You just go, Dennis Prager coined it, self-hating Jews.
Yeah.
Jews who hate themselves and just, Lanny, did you also, are you a fan of Nazi Germany? I mean, these people are crazy. They're absolutely crazy.
And did you see now at the city center in Paris, speaking of Paris again, but the riots from the Muslim ghettos have now expanded into the city center and things are being set on fire. I mean, this isn't coming from, the Protestants, the Catholics. I mean, everywhere you look that there's terror, there happens to be, massive Muslim immigration.
Yes.
Wonder if there's any correlation.
I think there's a dramatic correlation. And I listen, I will never say the words, I don't want any Muslims in the United States. That's not a true word. That's not a true statement from Wayne Root. My statement is anybody who comes into the United States that's hungry, that wants to work, that doesn't want welfare and food stamps, that has hopefully, preferably, friends and relatives waiting to provide them with a job and a place to live so they don't need housing assistance. Anybody who is patriotic, will not be for Sharia law, but love America, come on in.
Yeah,
as long as you've been extreme vetted, come on in.
Open your mosques.
Right.
Wide open.
Yeah.
Want them wide
all
open.
right,
I want a door that goes in and out, and I want everyone to be able to go into the mosque.
All right, so nothing we just said is true, though,
What?
because
No.
those coming in are none of those things.
Correct.
They all want welfare. They all want food stamps. They all want housing allowances. They have no one waiting to take care of them. They're coming with 15 wives. They want welfare for all 15 wives and all 30 kids. They will not open their mosques, and they do believe in Sharia law in large percentages. So nothing that I just said is going to happen. Therefore, I don't want a lot of Muslim immigration into the United States. So don't quote me saying I don't want Muslim immigration. I want the right kind of Muslim immigration, and what we're bringing in is the wrong kind of Muslim immigration, right?
Right. Well, and look at what Angela Merkel's doing. She's actually paying them to leave now because they've, basically trashed her whole entire country.
Because she can't admit that she was wrong about everything, now,
Right.
of course, right? Can't admit that, but she's paying them off. All right, Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. Megan Barth, another great job as always, not only with the opening segment, but the opening hour, which allowed me to work out and get some work done and get ready for my trip to Asia. I'm leaving tomorrow, folks, for 2 weeks. I don't know how you're going to live without me, and I don't know how I'm going to live without you, more importantly, because I think in Asia, every day at 3 o'clock, I'm going to go, where's the microphone?
You're not going to find a lot of tall blondes in Asia.
When you're there, when you're here, not next week, but the week after, when you're guesting all week, I will call in a few times because I think it's early morning there when you're on late afternoon here. It's early morning the next day there when you're on
so you
here.
can tell us the future.
Yes, I could tell you the future. And I did predict Trump would win, so I'm good at that. All right. Megan Barth, thank you.
Thank you.
When we get back, Peggy Grande, the author of a new book about President Ronald Reagan, because she was his everything, his all everything for many, many years. Peggy Grande was Reagan's personal assistant and then I think the director of his whole life and ran his office, his life for both Ronald and Nancy Reagan. And she will be with us talking about her new book, President Will See You Now, My Stories and Lessons from Ronald Reagan's Final Years. I met Peggy and we both gave a speech up in Portland, Oregon at the Republican Club up there. And I was hired to give the keynote address, and she was hired to give the speech right before me. And I think people were in shock because she's like Megan speaking. First of all, she's beautiful, and she gave a really nice speech and made people feel good. And then I stood up, and I just kicked ass and got people angry. Their heads wanted to explode. And half the room, by the way, was not for Trump at the time. And I told them Trump was going to be the next president, how great he was. And they were also, that half of the room, that Jeb Bush half, was so angry. And I think they were like, Peggy Grande and then Wayne Root, my head's going to explode. They couldn't take it. Anyway, my intensity overwhelms people. But Peggy Grande was great. And we'll have her up next. Wayne Allyn Root, WAR Now. Thank you, Megan Barth. All right, everyone. See you in a second. All right, I'm going to make a special exception. I think we're going to ixnay all the Bruce Springsteen songs from now on. He's just too liberal for me, and he hates Trump too much, and I don't even feel good playing his music anymore, so screw Bruce Springsteen. So, Jameson, make sure you make a note about that. No more Bruce Springsteen. And I didn't like that song either because he's talking about the Vietnam War, and he's really knocking us and our soldiers. So that's not my kind of song. So let's ixnay Bruce Springsteen from now on. And this is what liberals are doing to themselves. They're ruining their sales of records and movies and TV and books and everything else because 62 million people voted for Donald Trump. Do you think 62 million people aren't strong? You think 62 million don't determine whether your song is a hit, whether your book is a hit, whether your movie's a hit? So it's just stupid to be so one-sided, so biased, so vicious. It's just stupid. I didn't tell you to be pro-Trump. I told you to shut up and sing your songs and don't get involved in politics. And if you do, I think we're going to have to boycott from now on. I'm done with all these liberals. I'm going to boycott Starbucks, boycott Uber, boycott Lyft, boycott all the companies that are unpatriotic and that are dissing our president and disrespecting 62 million Trump voters. They are so obsessed and worried and scared with offending one illegal alien, with offending one Muslim, with offending one foreigner, but an American patriot who voted for Trump, they couldn't care less if they offend us. They don't care about 62 million people being offended. And that was my point of my Starbucks column in today's newspaper. That was the point of it all. Why don't you care about offending 62 million people, many of whom drink at Starbucks? And if they don't drink coffee, maybe they stop in for a Danish or a muffin or a banana, for that matter. I've done that at the airport. I don't drink coffee, but I've stopped and gotten a banana at Starbucks. Now I'd rather starve. Is that smart business? That's dumb. Keep your opinions to yourself. Businesses have no right to weigh in on partisan politics. Stupid. And to involve their money, shareholder money, even more stupid. All right, we've got Peggy Grande, who is a wonderful, wonderful gal, and she will verify that we were both hits at the big event in Portland, Oregon, but I think I shocked the audience. She made them happy. I put them in a state of either hysteria or total shock or nausea, depending on which side they were on, Trump or not. But we both definitely got everyone's attention. Peggy had this wonderful display, a kind of a PowerPoint display of photos of Ronald Reagan's life with her in it. She was there for many, many years, and it was so touching that I had tears in my eyes, and I know everyone in the audience did too. And we developed a friendship, Peggy and I, and we talk on email ever since then, about a year ago. And I wanted to get her on my show when I knew she had a new book coming out. So, Peggy Grande, welcome to the Wayne Allyn Show. How are you?
Thank you, Wayne, so much for having me on your show today.
I was a little shocking in my speech, wasn't I?
You're just very passionate, and we all appreciate that.
You are so diplomatic. You should be Ronald. You should be Ronald Reagan's all everything. You know. You are so diplomatic. You should have been appointed the ambassador to something. I swear. You should have been the ambassador to Switzerland. Very diplomatic woman, beautiful woman, very diplomatic. Never wants to upset anybody. The exact opposite in every way of Wayne Allyn W.A.R. So Peggy,
I think we were a nice balance for the dinner.
We are. We do make a nice balance. So
exactly.
tell everybody about your new book, The President Will See You Now, My Stories and Lessons from Ronald Reagan's Final Years. Tell everyone your background. Tell them how you got the job with Reagan, which was fascinating, and how many years you were there and what you had a chance to witness, which I think is like being a witness to history.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I do feel so honored. I really did have a front row seat to history. I consider myself to be one of the luckiest women in the world to sit right outside the office of this iconic political figure, beloved man, known all around the world, and to be able to serve him in that capacity for 10 years was just something that you couldn't even dream that would happen. I was that nerdy little kid who loved government and politics. I grew up in Southern California, so it was even stranger that somebody would pay attention to politics, especially a young girl back in the day. And I pursued that dream of just connecting with presidents in the political arena. My dad taught me somebody's got to have the job you want, and it might as well be you. So when Ronald Reagan returned to Los Angeles, I was getting ready to graduate from Pepperdine University, applied for a job in the office. I didn't even know if they were taking people working in the office, and was offered an opportunity to intern for what I thought would just be a short period of time. The end of that internship rolled into a full-time position working as the executive assistant for the chief of staff. And then a few years later, Ronald Reagan's executive assistant he had for decades retired, and they asked me to take that role. So that is something you don't say no to, and I still almost look back and pinch myself saying, was that really my life? Did that really happen?
How many years were you with Reagan altogether?
I worked for him directly for 10 years from 1989, right after he left office, until 1999, when he pretty much left the public eye. He lived for another 5 years. I consider myself very fortunate to have been able to go up during those 5 years and visit with him and Mrs. Reagan many times in their home during those last 5 years before he passed away. And, you know, the book talks a lot about some of those very special, very personal, private visits we had in his home in just a respectful and loving way, and show the elegance and grace with which this man, even in his declining years, was able to live and end his life.
Let me ask you a few things that come to mind. I think my show is such a big hit now. We're going national, by the way, Peggy. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Number one in Vegas and nationally syndicated starting in April. And I think one of the reasons it's such a big hit is because I try to ask the questions as if I'm a listener sitting at home. What are they thinking? And so my first question is, when you're with Reagan those 10 years between 89 and 99, obviously the onset was happening of Alzheimer's. Did you notice anything happening? Did you notice he wasn't quite there anymore? Or actually the bad stuff didn't happen till the next 5 years when he was then out of there and you were no longer his executive assistant?
Right. Well, he wrote his letter to the American people about 5 years into my 10 years working with him. And so a lot of people at that point, when he wrote the letter, announced to the world that he had Alzheimer's, in a lot of ways, people started really saying their goodbyes to Ronald Reagan. But he came to the office for another 5 years. So as they were saying goodbye, I was saying good morning.
And what was he
day.
like? What was he like those last 5 years, is my question.
Well, when I started working for him, he already was a very elderly gentleman. And so, you know, there's a lot of the typical things that come with anybody who is advanced years in age. And so there was nothing particularly alarming or different. I just knew, you know, he was an elderly gentleman. Alzheimer's, if you know much about it, there's some very specific characteristics, which now we know as warning signs. But at the time, nobody was really talking about Alzheimer's. People called it dementia or senility, or just, you know, affiliated it with old age. But really, Alzheimer's is a household word because Ronald and Nancy Reagan were willing to step outside of themselves and think about the benefits that would come as public servants, going public with something that was very private and bringing it really to a national conversation. And I admire them so much for doing that, because it would have been very easy for them to retreat to the ranch and hope nobody ever saw or noticed or talked about it. But that's just not the way these people were. And so even more so, to go through something so difficult and challenging personally and to do so in the fishbowl of public life really made me admire these people even more for doing something very selfless at a time when they could have chosen to be selfish.
All right, now what about the very last 5 years of his life when you were no longer his executive assistant because he wasn't coming to the office anymore? He had full-blown Alzheimer's at that point, meaning he had real problems with memory. When you went to visit him at his home in Bel-Air, did he recognize you anymore?
Well, one of the things I always noticed and appreciated was that he was so well cared for. Mrs. Reagan was an amazing caregiver. She took such good care of him. Every time I saw him, he was impeccably dressed, you know, hair well done, manicured nails, you know, just so well cared for. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to convey in those last years of his life. Here was a man that was so revered and so loved. Even after he left the public eye, I think there was this curiosity of, is he okay? Is he being looked out for and loved and cared for in the way that we all would want this man to be cared for? And so, you know, it was comforting to see that even in his decline, there was this elegance. And certainly, you know, he was human. And so the very real struggles of an advancing disease like Alzheimer's played out in his life, as it does in so many other Americans. And he realized, and Mrs. Reagan realized, you know, they were very fortunate to be in a position where he could be well cared for. He could stay at home. He could have the care around him that he needed. And yet that doesn't really alleviate the pain and suffering of a family and friends watching you losing somebody before your very eyes.
I can't think of a crueler thing for Reagan, because he was my hero, as I think you remember I told you. He really was my hero. My son is named after him, who's 12 years old, and was born literally 2 days after Reagan's funeral. And his name is Remington Reagan Root. And I just
that's wonderful.
I just loved Reagan. I can't imagine one of the greatest men who's ever lived in the history of America, therefore in the history of the world, with the memories he had of saving America and being a great president and then those memories taken away from you. I
Mm-hmm.
can't even imagine how cruel that is. It's so sad.
He was an incredible man of faith, though, and so even at the beginning of this Alzheimer's journey, just as he had every step along the way of his life, he trusted that God had directed his path and would make a way for him. And so even though, of course, he didn't resign himself, well, I guess this is the way it's going to be, there was a sense of peace that the God who had cared for him every step of his life would continue to be with him. And that peace that he exhibited at a time in his life really was remarkable to watch, because that's where, faith and trust, the rubber hits the road. I mean, you can't hide behind the mask of being president. You can't hide behind the aura or the presentation that you have given to the world. All that is stripped away, and all that's left is you, who you are at the core, and your relationship with God. And to really watch that play out in those final years was tragic and sad, but really at the same time such a beautiful testimony to his life.
Well, you've led a wonderful, blessed life that you were there with a front row seat to history and spend time with Reagan. Let's take a quick break, Peggy, because I got to pay the bills. We got to get some ads on. And when we come back, I want you to talk about your actual book and the lessons all of us can learn from Ronald Reagan's final years. Stay with us for a minute.
Terrific. Thank you.
All right, Peggy Grande, she's the author of The President Will See You Now. Great new book, and I want you all to buy it. My hero, Ronald Reagan, and one of my newer heroes, Peggy Grande, who is just a classy, beautiful, intelligent woman who had a front row seat to history and wound up going from an intern to Ronald Reagan's right-hand woman for 10 years and wrote about it in her new book, The President Will See You Now. When we get back, we'll see you now. Wayne Allyn, War Now. The show is exploding all over Vegas. So many listeners everywhere I go. Everybody's listening to War Now. Before we get to Peggy Grande again, just reading an email just came in from James. War, please don't feel the need to respond. I know you receive hundreds of emails a day. I do, but I did respond already during the break. Starbucks, another great article. I will, as of today, boycott Howard's Little Coffee Shop, meaning Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. I love your articles, but don't understand how we agree on everything. I was raised a Southern Baptist in Alabama and went to a public university. I work as a Baccarat dealer on the Vegas Strip. Quite a difference from a Jewish boy raised in New York who attended Columbia University. Oh, I have found one difference. I'm a Saints fan, and I will bet you're a New York Giants fan. Have a great week, James. All right, James, thank you. I already answered your email. I try and get to everybody, try and answer every single one, kind of modeling myself after Peggy's man, Ronald Reagan. You got to be a good person if you want to make it in this world, and I think you never, ever, ever, what does the Army say? Never leave a man behind? Never, ever. The Marines say they'll never leave a man behind. I answer every person that emails me if humanly possible, and I have done that for a year now, and that's why our audience is so big. But I'm not a Giants fan. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan from New York. Dallas Cowboy fan since I'm 5 years old. Love the Cowboys with all my heart and soul. All right, Peggy Grande, author of The President Will See You Now, My Stories and Lessons from Ronald Reagan's Final Years. She was a front seat witness to history, working alongside as the executive assistant for Ronald Reagan for all his years in retirement and a couple of years in the White House as well. Peggy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Wayne.
So what are the lessons we can all learn from Ronald Reagan's final years? What are the key takeaway points?
Well, I think one of the things you just talked about was responding to people. That was something that we did every single day. Ronald Reagan figured if somebody took the time to write to him, to send something to him, they deserved the respect of a reply. And so we spent so much time on correspondence, on calling people back. It was pre-email. I'm dating myself, how old I am. We didn't have email then. Wouldn't that have been nice? But everybody received a reply. So there was a graciousness, there was a civility, and just a humanity in responding to people and treating them with the kindness and respect that they always showed to him.
You know what's funny, Peggy? I got to tell you a quick funny story. So sitting in the radio station with me is a fan who loves the show and likes to come in and watch it live from time to time. His name is Dane Sensor, and he's the world's biggest kind of Marine guerrilla campaigner for Donald Trump and was in the streets of every city in this country with giant signs at every Trump rally fighting for Donald Trump. And this guy's great. And I met him because I was opening act for Donald Trump at quite a few events in Vegas, 6 of them. And Dane was at every one. I'm standing in the front row with his sign. And so now he comes into the show all the time. He finally moved to Vegas, but he really was from Northern California and came into Vegas just when Trump was speaking here. Now he's moved and relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada, and he's sitting here and he opens up his book. He brought his book in not knowing you were going to be on the show today. He had no idea who the guests were, and he's got all these letters signed by Ronald Reagan, who took the time to answer Dane when Dane was, what were you, director of the missing children? What was it? It was the Californians for Missing Children. Dane Sensor, vice president, Californians for Missing Children in San Francisco. So he wrote a letter to Trump, and his board told Dane that he'll never respond to you in a million years, right? That was the story. And in 2 weeks, he got a letter back from Ronald Reagan, and he brought the letter with him, and he's also got signs with him. Again, keep in mind, he didn't know you were going to be my guest. This is just pure God's providence. He shows up, and he's got pictures of him at Reagan's funeral with giant signs that Getty Images took, and he's on the front page of the Simi Valley newspaper, and he says the Secret Service was so impressed with how much he loved Reagan that they called him up and gave him a front row seat at the funeral house, showed him around the whole Reagan library and took him around. But again, it just shows you there are witnesses that saw what a great man Reagan was. And that's why I answer every single email people send me, because I just want to try and be a little bit like Reagan, just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Dane, I appreciate you being in studio today, and it is really providential that that happened. And one of the privileges I get is as I travel the nation and around the world and talk about Ronald Reagan, I get to tell my stories, but even more fun for me is to hear everybody else's stories. And I hear time and time again people coming up to say, I met Ronald Reagan. We happened to share an elevator. And in those 12 seconds that we rode the elevator together, he looked at me and he looked me in the eye and he shook my hand and asked my name. And I felt like he saw me and connected with me in that very brief period of time. And I get to hear time and time again these little things that Ronald Reagan did that I'm sure he never even thought was anything monumental that made a lasting impact on people. And I think it's a great reminder for all of us that regardless of whether we're the president or not, people around us are watching what we do, what we say. They may not remember the exact words, but they will always remember how they felt around us. Did we make them feel heard and valid and important and special? And that was something that Ronald Reagan did for everybody. And as a very young person working for him, I felt that respect from him, even at times when I was very young and maybe I hadn't even earned that yet. But he gave that respect and loyalty first, and in turn, it made you want to return it to him exponentially.
Yeah, I was the first guy in the country who started writing columns comparing Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump, and everyone thought I was crazy. Remember at the event in Portland, Oregon, people looked at me like I had horns on my head, A, because I was predicting Trump would win the election, and B, I did compare Trump to Reagan. Obviously, I don't think they're exactly alike because Reagan was, I think, nicer. Reagan really loved people, and Reagan was a wonderful human being who didn't have a bad bone in his body and wouldn't know how to answer viciously, really. He wasn't like that, whereas Donald Trump's more like me. I'm kind of a New York street guy, and I've got a little bit of that streak of me that if you're a liberal and you attack me, I will try and destroy you even harder than you tried to destroy me. And Trump and I have that, whereas Reagan didn't have that. He was a Midwest boy, and they're just nicer. Yeah. But they have so much in common in so many other ways. Both entertainers, both charismatic, both high energy, both inspire great passion in their followers. And both, even though Reagan was this ultra nice guy, Peggy, I was a witness in 1980. I was at Columbia University, a freshman, and 79. And I actually witnessed the hatred that liberals had for him, which I've never seen again till Trump came along. They both inspired love from conservatives and incredible over-the-top hatred from liberals. How could anyone hate a man like Reagan? I have no idea, right?
Well, hindsight is always 20/20, and it's ironic to look back and realize that in 1976, Ronald Reagan was not our nominee, and in fact, the party was fairly divided in 1980, and a lot of people didn't want Ronald Reagan to be our nominee then either. And so we look back and pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, weren't we smart to pick Ronald Reagan? But it wasn't always so straightforward.
And by the way, they said the same things, Peggy, that people say now about Trump. Too conservative, too radical, too extreme, too crazy, can't let his finger into the nuclear button. It's more of a comedian and an entertainer than he is a president. Same kind of things liberals said about Reagan they've said about Trump. They were saying during the campaign and are saying now as president. So it's kind of interesting. There is something weird that those two are connected in a way. I think Trump is our Reagan. Even though personalities are a little different, Trump is kind of of an updated Reagan.
Well, one of the things I see that directly aligns is Ronald Reagan always said, you talk to people. You don't talk above them, beneath them, and you don't talk about people. You talk to people. And Donald Trump certainly does that. And Ronald Reagan didn't have the luxury of Twitter. But I have to believe that if Ronald Reagan were alive and Twitter were invented, that he would have tweeted, because it was a way to go directly to the people. Ronald Reagan did it through weekly radio addresses. He would go to the Oval Office and he would look down the lens of the camera and talk directly to the American people. And that was important to him, to not always go through a spokesperson, to not always allow Congress to say what he wanted to say, but really go directly to the people. And so in that way, I feel like he and Donald Trump are very much alike. All
right, Peggy Grande. You know what's funny is I've gotten to know the Peggy Grande of the Donald Trump administration. Her name is Hope Hicks. I'm sure you know her. And Hope sits right outside the door of the Oval Office. And I was on the phone with her 2 days ago because Trump told a friend of mine, who's a mutual friend between me and Donald, that Wayne should schedule an appointment, call Hope, and come on down to the Oval Office. So I was on the phone with Hope just the other day, trying to schedule a trip to Washington to meet Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And Hope really reminds me of you those years ago. She's very, very similar to you in many ways. And you're both great, great, great ladies. And Trump is lucky to have Hope, and Ronald Reagan was lucky to have Peggy Grande. So,
thank you. And maybe you'll let me tag along to the Oval Office with you. And I definitely know you have some airplane reading for your long travel.
Yes, I have your book. I do. So Peggy Grande's the author of The President Will See You Now, and I'm going to read it. I'm leaving for Asia in the morning tomorrow. So there's my long reading on the way to Hong Kong, China tomorrow. Peggy Grande, The President Will See You Now, My Stories and Lessons from Ronald Reagan's Final Years. Peggy, thanks for coming on the show.
Safe travels, and thank you so much, Wayne. I appreciate it.
So great to catch up with you. Great gal. All right, Wayne Allyn, we're taking a quick ad break, then the news, and when we get back, it'll be nothing but your calls. 702-546-4790, but we've got a new toll-free number that everyone can use from now on, 844-WAR-NOW-1. And it works no matter where you are, whether you're in Palm Springs, New York, New Jersey, Colorado, Montana, Alaska, or Las Vegas. 844-WAR-NOW-1. And it's free for everyone to call the Wayne Allyn Show. 844-WAR-NOW-1. All right, Wayne Allyn, War Now, live in studio. We've still got Dane Sensor, the great Marine hero who loves Donald Trump. He's here watching the show. We just got Nelson Sardelli and his beautiful wife Lorraine walked in to join us. Nelson will be a guest in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to have a lot of fun coming up. Call in 844-WAR-NOW-1. This is war. This is war. This is. All right, war in the house. My last hour before I leave tomorrow morning for 2 weeks to Asia. Tomorrow morning I head off to Hong Kong through Los Angeles. So it's going to be a wild 25-hour plane flight, grueling, not looking forward to that. But after that, 2 weeks on the road in Asia, 6 cities, 5 countries, about 1,000 to 1,500 people waiting to hear me speak to talk about Donald Trump and the Trump effect on the world. And then a road show where I'm raising money for my newest business. So it should be a very fantastic and prosperous 2 weeks. And then I'll be back in the saddle on Monday, March 6th. Until then, we'll have Megan, we'll have Megan Barth, Kevin Wall. We will have Mayor Oscar Goodman. We'll have JD. We have all kinds of people coming in as guest hosts to keep it interesting and to keep it fun and to keep it light, to keep it colorful. And so you'll be without me for 2 weeks. I'll be without you for 2 weeks. We'll both have a hard time, but we'll recover. We'll make it through. And I'll see you again on March 6th. My last hour today, I've got Nelson Sardelli here. His lovely wife Lorraine is watching. Nelson will be our guest about 5:20 or so. We'll talk about the Italianization of Wayne event coming up at Fiore. I have no idea what any of that entails. I guess I'll find out during the show today. And I had no idea he was a big star on the Vegas Strip for decades. We'll find out about that today. New toll-free phone number we just got today, 844-WAR-NOW-1. 844-WAR-NOW-1, toll-free like an 800 number. 844 is the new 800. 844-WAR-NOW-1. Anyone could call in the show from anywhere in the United States. This show right now is on 790 Talk Now in Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs, And starting in April, we will be syndicated all over the United States. You can get War One coming to a town near you and a liberal near you. Good luck to the liberals when they start hearing this. Their heads will explode. So my RJ, Las Vegas Review-Journal column today, which made heads explode all the way in Seattle, Washington, at Starbucks headquarters. I woke up at 6, and by 6:05 a.m., I had a letter saying Starbucks responds to Wayne Allen Root. And I'll read you that in a minute, but I want to read you the commentary from the RJ today because no one tells it with raw honesty the way I do other than Donald Trump. That's about the only guy I know who publicly comes out and says the things I do. So I think you'll enjoy it. Liberals lie. Liberals are hypocrites. It used to be shocking and embarrassing, but now it's just downright dangerous to all of us. Exhibit A is Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, a longtime liberal Democratic contributor, and a veteran Trump hater. So it comes as no surprise that the Starbucks CEO opposes President Trump's extreme vetting executive order aimed at 7 dangerous, terrorist-infested Muslim-majority nations. That's all fine and dandy. We live in a free speech nation. The Starbucks CEO can believe what he wants to believe, but he crossed a new line when he promised to hire 10,000 Muslim refugees at his Starbucks stores. First of all, does Howard Schultz speak for the entire board of directors? Because Starbucks is a public company. Do they approve of involving Starbucks in controversial partisan political debates? If not, he should be fired immediately. He didn't just state his personal opinion. He involved Starbucks and the shareholders of Starbucks. Secondly, does Schultz speak for the shareholders? If not, he should be fired immediately. Their CEO has no right to use company money to back up his political beliefs. Third, does Schultz speak for the customers of Starbucks? Because if anyone that buys Starbucks coffee is a Republican, the CEO just damaged his business model. Being that 62 million of us voted for Donald Trump, that might hurt Starbucks' bottom line just a bit. Ouch. Fourth, we have tens of thousands of homeless veterans in this country. Many thousands of others live in poverty. Maybe they're not homeless yet, but they live in poverty. Why would a CEO of a U.S. company be more concerned about hiring Muslim refugees than veterans? Why would the CEO of Starbucks put foreigners before American citizens, let alone American heroes? Fifth, there's the liberal argument that Muslim refugees are no danger to any of us. Not true. Since 9/11, there have been 72 individuals from the 7 majority Muslim countries covered by President Trump's extreme vetting executive order convicted of terrorism in the United States. 72 convicted of terrorism. How many are Muslim terrorists still in the country but undetected and unconvicted? How many are being radicalized right now at a mosque or a prison near you? Isn't it comforting to know many of these refugees speak no English, have incomplete records, can't be properly vetted, may have a hatred for Jews and Christians, may harbor terrorist beliefs, and they'll be serving you coffee and Danish in the morning? Taste testers, anyone? Finally, it's the hypocrisy that angers me the most. Would you be surprised to learn Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz just bought a $40 million condo in Manhattan? That purchase goes into his real estate collection, which includes a $25 million mansion on the beach in Hawaii, a mansion on the beach in the Hamptons, a mansion in Seattle, and a $25 million condo on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. Oh, and he also recently bought a $5 million condo for his little son in Manhattan. Schultz is a typical guilt-ridden, bleeding heart liberal hypocrite. Do you think he'll ever see a Muslim refugee in his neighborhoods? Do you think any of his neighbors next door to his $40 million penthouse will be Muslim refugees? Nelson's laughing. You think maybe I got Howard Schultz a little bit upset at Starbucks? He had his staff working overtime all night long to respond to me. Do you think any of the neighbors to his $40 million penthouse will be Muslim refugees? How about on the beach next to his $25 million Hawaiian mansion? Any Muslims there? If Schultz loves Muslim refugees so much, why does he choose to spend tens of millions to live as far away from them as humanly possible? Do you think the Starbucks CEO has ever seen a Muslim refugee outside the safe confines of a $25,000 per plate charity event on Fifth Avenue? I'm betting if he's ever been in the same room as a Muslim refugee at one of those liberal fundraisers, he made sure he was surrounded by bodyguards with guns. I'm betting the Starbucks CEO drives to work in limos and flies in private jets to his mansions. I'm betting all the neighborhoods he lives in are 100% white. I'm betting his son living in that $5 million condo attended 100% white private schools. But the Starbucks CEO wants you and me to live with Muslim refugees. He wants our kids to go to public schools with Muslim refugees. He wants his employees to work alongside Muslim refugees. He's willing to risk our lowly lives. I'd laugh at the audacity of the rich liberal hypocrite, except the ideas of liberals like Howard Schultz are a danger to all of us, our children, and our country. My commentary in today's Las Vegas Review-Journal, which drew an immediate response from Starbucks. The response was from Corey Dubrowa, Senior Vice President, Global Communications, Starbucks Coffee Company. And he went to great pains to tell me that Starbucks has hired veterans in the past, to tell me that Howard has returned to shareholders an 8,000% increase in their shareholder value since 1982, and to tell me that he is not a Democratic contributor because he hasn't given to any Democrats between 2011 and 2016. And he hoped I would reconsider the content of what I wrote. And I answered back, hello, Corey. This is Wayne Allyn, the columnist. Thank you for responding. I find it refreshing when public figures have the courage to respond to negative commentary, so you and your company are to be commended for that. And I'm well aware of the vets Starbucks has hired in the past. That's why I was supportive publicly of Starbucks in the past. My commentary only dealt with the new decision to hire refugees and not U.S. vets moving forward. My comments on your stock never mentioned price or shareholder appreciation. That's true. Congratulations on your success in dramatically increasing the value of the stock. But my column was only directed at the question of whether your shareholders all approve of your CEO injecting the company into partisan liberal politics. An increase in value doesn't address that question. I own many stocks. The CEO can increase my value by 8,000%, but I'd still be terribly offended if that CEO said nasty things about my president, Donald Trump, and made it clear he was involving the company with my money in partisan liberal politics. My comment on your CEO, Mr. Schultz's Democratic leanings, came from multiple sources, not just based on contributions. He is on record in the media supporting both Obama and Hillary, and the USA Today article, which states his endorsement of Obama, also quotes a $5,000 contribution in 2012 to Democrat U.S. Senator of Washington, Maria Cantrell. Based on the support of Obama and Hillary, his attacks on Trump, his attacks on the policies of Trump, and the financial support of Senator Cantrell, it's very clear where Mr. Schultz stands politically, and he did, according to USA Today, make that contribution since 2011. You're wrong. In any case, it's a free world. I have no problem with your CEO or any other personally expressing his views. And being a free speech advocate, I'd fight for his right to do that. We all have our views. My column was clearly dedicated not to him expressing his views, but to two issues. A, hypocrisy of wealthy CEOs who expect others to live and work alongside refugees in a way they clearly will never do themselves. And B, involving their companies in political statements. I understand Mr. Schultz's views. I understand the desire to be compassionate to refugees, but there are 62 million Trump voters who strongly disagree, and no CEO should involve his company in offending 62 million potential customers. Your CEO could take sides personally, but involving his company, in my opinion, giant mistake. And I'm betting I'm not the only one saying it. I'd like to be a fly on the wall to read all the letters your company is fielding from shareholders and customers. In business, it's just not smart to turn off half your customers. By the way, I believe that a conservative CEO would be equally wrong to involve his or her company in partisan politics. Personally, by all means, yes, do it. But the company, never. Just my opinion. That's why I write commentaries. Sincerely, Wayne Allyn Root. So I never heard back from them again. They disappeared off the face of the earth after that. They probably thought they'd intimidate me into writing some sort of an apology. And in reality, I think I'll write another column and hit them again. In any case, I'm Wayne Allyn Root. When we get back, we'll have Nelson Sardelli to have some fun. We'll talk about the new event coming up on March 9th, the event at Fiore about the Italianization of Wayne. I got to find out how they're going to make me Italian. Megan Barth, my co-host, said today, from now on, she's got a new name for me. I'm an I-Jew, an Italian Jew, an I-Jew, like an iPhone. From now on, it's I-Jew, Wayne Allyn Root. We're going to have some fun with the next segment and some fun at Fiore. And we're going to tell you how you can buy tickets and come to the lunch and be a guest for the Italianization of Wayne. Wayne Allyn Root, War Now, 790 Talk Now Vegas, 98.1 Palm Springs FM, and of course, all over this country starting in April. This is war. Hi, Wayne Allyn here with big news that could affect every dollar you've invested and in savings. Today, the laws are changing so fast in the U.S. and worldwide, it's challenging to stay up with it all. For example, I just learned of a major economic event that will occur on or before March 31st, a global convergence of risk for the U.S. dollar. According to the Great Convergence of 2017, a new Swiss America report, this global event presents economic danger for those unaware and a golden opportunity for those who are prepared. The report is free by calling 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Learn how simple it is to protect your hard-earned savings and investments before March 31st. Get the free report, The Great Convergence of 2017, a major economic event that will occur on or before March 31st. Get the free report right now. Call 800-289-2646, 800 toll-free, 289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com. All right, Wayne Allyn, welcome back to War Now. 790 Talk Now, Vegas, 98.1 FM in Palm Springs. Our guest is in studio. I always love to have an in-studio guest so I can see him and look him in the eyes. Nelson Sardelli is here, and Nelson is the president, I guess you'd say, right, of Fiore?
The creator.
The creator and the president of Fiore, which stands for?
Fun Italians Organizing Ridiculous Events.
There we go. And the most
Before we go any farther,
yes,
two things I must say, because I had to follow up in what we were talking about. First of all, you've got to appreciate how much money Starbucks is investing in just teaching those new people the concept of indoor plumbing.
Now,
that's a lot of money.
Now, just so everybody knows what Nelson is sarcastically referring to.
Sarcastic?
There are many Middle Eastern Muslims who, let's just say, have never had the joy of learning how to use toilet paper.
Among other things, yes.
Yes, and they also go to the bathroom in places that are not economically or maybe would say cleaning-wise the most perfect place to lay your load upon the road.
Very good. The next thing is that a lot of your...
Hygienically, that was the word I was looking for. Hygienically ideal place to lay your load upon the road. There we go.
The other thing that I must clarify before we go any farther, I know that you are listened by so many people all over the world because I made sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
And people are wondering, how come Nelson got to be a guest in your show?
How come?
I'll tell you why.
Why do you think?
I'm going to tell him like it is. You don't want to tell him. In the last 3 weeks, I know for a fact that you received in excess of 473 letters, not asking, but demanding that I would appear on the show. And you felt that anybody who can sit down and write that many letters should be on your show.
There we go. How many was the total? You knew the total.
437.
Yes, I figured you wrote 436, and you have one friend, someone in there that was a friend, or maybe your wife Lorraine wrote the other one. But I figured
it's all done.
it was
by
all
me.
you. Okay, all you.
I wrote them all.
All right. So I had Nelson on the show because we met when I gave a speech for Donald Trump at Fiore,
yes.
For Nelson Sardelli. We got to know each other, and I thought he was such a great guy, charming guy, articulate
Hold
guy.
another one.
Yeah,
Hold another one.
And 82 years old, you told
82,
me?
yes.
He is like the fountain of youth. This guy is handsome with the thickest hair you've ever seen for an 82-year-old. He is so distinguished looking that I would have been surprised if he was like, I wouldn't have been surprised if he was like 65, 66, 67. 82 is
That's
beyond
what I told
the pale.
my new wife, yes.
There we go. So Nelson runs Fiore, and they
Yes.
have such fun at their events. And I told Nelson I've wanted to be Italian my whole life. Grew up the only Jew in an all-Italian neighborhood. And I was looking for the opportunity to finally become Italian. And Nelson came up with this idea. Tell everyone what this is about.
I'll tell you what. Let it quickly explain to the folks at home what the Fiore is. There are many serious clubs in Las Vegas with purposes, and I'm sure they're wonderful. But I thought that we had enough of those. So I created Fiore as the Fiore stands for flower, but we got nothing to do with the flower. Fiore, as I said, stands for Fun Italians Organizing Ridiculous Events. To be a member, you must be Italian or not. We're very strict on that.
Or ridiculous.
Or
Maybe
ridiculous.
Italian or ridiculous.
Primarily ridiculous.
Lots of Jews are ridiculous, so I fall under the category.
But so our club has no agenda, no reason to be, nothing. We are actually a non-club club. We meet once a month. at the Italian American Club here in Las Vegas at 2333 West East. My God, that's East Sahara. Yes.
Sahara, like near Flamingo,
No,
I think,
it's
or
past,
Eastern.
Past Eastern.
Eastern. There we go.
Yeah.
Flamingo and Eastern.
Yeah,
Sahara and
it's
Eastern.
east of and we meet once a month, a second Thursday of every month. We always have live music.
Great
and
music, great food.
Great food, great music. And the club opens specifically for us because the Italian American Club is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And then they open on Wednesdays, 5 o'clock on. But for us, they open specifically on the second Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And what started as a joke, now we have over 200 members. And you got to understand that we're not actually exactly open for the public, but yet, if a person has great attitude and low expectations, is more than welcome.
Low expectations is
Low
the key.
expectations is very important. If you act anal retentively, you are out of the club.
All right, so tell my listeners about what the event with Wayne is about on March 9th. Because that's what they're on the edge of the seats waiting for.
Of course
they don't
they
want
are.
any more Muslim jokes. They just want to hear what the March 9th event
What
is.
they need to know, again, is for them to come to your event or for any of the events of the Fiore, they must RSVP because the cook must know exactly how many people are coming.
So how do they RSVP?
They are SVP to non-club club Fiore
At?
at gmail.com.
All right, so non-club Fiore at gmail.com, and that's a joke on the fact it's a non-club club. Got it. Non-club club
Yes.
Fiore, Fiore at gmail.com.
Exactly, because without because our club has also another rule. If you eat, it's $25. If you don't eat, it's $29.95. So,
We want you to eat
There you go.
and eat well and fill up. So it's Thursday, March 9th at 11:45, 12?
we open the door at 11:30.
11:30. All right.
Yes,
So
because-
Thursday, March 9th, 11:30. And what's the event going to be about?
event
why,
is this.
Why do people want to come?
The people want to come because it's the greatest club ever created in the universe and Summerlin. I gotta tell you, this club is so great that, like I repeat, we have the live music, but we have the crop of the community are members of our club. Last year, a year before, we made Bob Anderson the first Italian on the club because we felt that anybody who had that much talent could not be Italian. So we made him Italian. So now came you into the scene. And we felt that you are very deserving of this.
I'm
ceremony.
deserving of being an I-Jew.
An I Jew, because the ritual it's pretty serious, pretty strong. There's going to be some blood draw,
Blood drawn
blood drawing,
and grape stomped.
yes.
Yes.
Oh,
When
and
it's
grape
over, Wayne will be Italian.
Yes.
Is that the deal?
Oh yes, but the beauty of it is that, like I said, we go through this thing and it's fun. And like I said, knowing you, because if the guy is uptight, he's not.
Oh, we'll have fun. Believe
We're
me,
gonna
we'll
have fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fun because it's beautiful, and the whole thing entails a bunch of so-called not when you have. Oh my gosh, I'm maybe I am an 82. I can't remember.
He doesn't look 82.
No, but I'm speaking as if I were the typical, like, not worn out jokes. We don't have that.
Yes.
But the icons, the so-called.
Well, I met Cliff Lawrence at your club, and
Yeah.
Cliff's a great comedian.
he
He
write-
sends
he-
me jokes every week.
He writes.
I read them on the show all the time. He's
He
hilarious.
writes for many of the night television shows.
Yeah, late night shows.
Yeah,
yes.
but I mean, we do the whole ceremony goes because it's very serious stuff.
Oh,
That's
serious.
In
It's
fact,
a serious
we
thing.
even try to contact your moil because we want all the parts back so that we can make you whole again.
This is going to be fun. This will be interesting.
Yes.
So if you want tickets to this event, it's Thursday, March 9th, 11:30 a.m.
11:30.
It's a lunch. It's a
11,
lunch.
yeah, sure.
The Italianization of Wayne at Fiore.
Fiore.
Tell them what Fiore stands for one more time.
Fun Italia is organizing ridiculous events, but it's also important that you go to our website, which is www.nonclubclubfiore.com, and immediately go to the About Us page and learn about us.
There you go. And the email is nonclubclubfiore@gmail.com. Are you proud of me? I got it.
Of
I got
course,
it. It's
of
memorized for life
course.
now. Let's talk about you for a minute.
About
I want
me.
to talk about you for a minute, not the
I
club.
am Italian. I'll take the fifth.
First of all, I want to start with your jacket because that's an interesting jacket you're wearing. You've got patches from every police department in the world. What is that about?
When I was a kid, my father was an immigrant from Italy, a legal immigrant from Italy, as I am a legal immigrant to the United States of America. He was a policeman up to my age of about 10, 11, and when the war broke up, he felt that with his accent, he could not go to somebody and say, I'm going to put you in a jail. That wasn't quite right. So I have this great affinity for police. I'm one of the biggest support. I have one of the biggest paraphernalia police collection. Perhaps not as big as or as Elvis, but pretty big. And this is one of my jackets. I have patches here.
He's got patches from every
all over-
police
and that's not the only
all over the
jacket I have.
world. All over
I
the
have
world.
in excess of about 6,000 of this.
Wow.
I have over 300 badges. I have hats. I have handcuffs, ankle cuffs, nightsticks. I have 2 prisoners, nice girls. And,
I was just going to ask if Lorraine has experienced
No,
the
no,
handcuffs
yeah.
recently, but we won't get into that. I was just going to ask about that. Lorraine's his lovely wife was in studio with us today. Nice to have her here. We have a big crowd today. We have Dane Sensor here. We have Lorraine here. We have Nelson here. We have our producer here, Trusty Jameson. There's a lot of people in the
Yes,
crowd.
well,
So your background, you were a big time entertainer in Las Vegas.
easy there.
You got here what year?
I came here in 1965.
From?
In America.
No, from where were you before that?
I came to America in 56.
And where did you come? To New York? Or?
I went to Michigan. I went to Pontiac, Michigan, because I used to work for General Motors of Brazil in Economic Research and Analysis Division.
Big shot.
Numbers.
Big shot.
Yeah, and then I got drafted into the United States Army. I served 2 years, which was the greatest thing that could happen to me, and it should happen again to the kids today to give them some respect and patriotism.
So they won't kneel when the national anthem is played.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was great because then I never felt like I'm an outsider. I belong here. I assimilate. So I was all over after that, and I started singing. And in 65, I got a job in Vegas. And the moment I arrived, I came to stay.
But your job was just a regular pedestrian job. It wasn't a showbiz job.
Pedestrian job. I was in Brazil working for General Motors because my father died when I was 15 years old, and I had to do
So what did you come here for?
I came here on a joke because another guy that worked for General Motors, he was higher up than I, he got sent to Flint to GMOO, General Motors Overseas Operations. And when he left, he says, you want to come to America? I say, sure, send me an affidavit and I'll come. Because those days for you to come, somebody had to say that you would never become public charge.
Isn't that interesting?
Beautiful.
That's what we should have
now. This is why I have no tolerance for the rest of the
That's
crew.
all Trump wants to do.
Exactly. And I speak Trump.
Yes.
I know exactly what the man is doing, and I love him. The thing is this. So when I came thinking that I was going to be in General Motors, nothing. So I became a dance instructor. I work a half a day on a hospital, St. Joseph Hospital in Michigan, in Pontiac, Michigan. They dressed me as a Ben Case guy, and
Ben Casey, Dr.
guy.
Ben Casey. I
They
remember.
don't even know. Say, who the heck is
Yeah,
this?
it was a long time
But I
ago.
got to tell you, I was beautiful. But then I went to the first room as an orderly, which is about as lowest in the totem pole as you can be. And they had to put a catheter in this guy. And when I saw them doing that, my legs got so limp, I lay down the bed next to him. I said, this is not going to be good
That's
for
not
me.
my career, yeah.
And the next thing they came and they complained about me, says, when you put a bed underneath a male patient, you lift him like this and not like that. So that was another.
That didn't work too well.
No, not on radio.
All right, so now you wind up in Vegas. Now you wind up in Vegas.
No, then I work in one day in construction job. I had so much pain. I talked to God. I said, this is not making. Then I went to sing. I went to meet Miss Michigan in a restaurant one night, and the boss looked at me and says, why don't you sing? And I said, why don't you dance? What kind of thing is it? And I got up and I sang and I got a job.
And people clapped and they loved it. And
Yeah, they made me sing Volare 4 times. They say, sing until you get it right. And then one thing led to another. I kept getting, so in 1965, I came here already with an act. And
a singing
a
act.
singing, comedy, dancing, and gun routines.
Gun routines.
Oh, I taught Sammy Davis Jr. a few tricks. My modesty does not allow me to pursue much on this. But yeah, I was pretty good with guns.
So you told me you were in movies. Is that right?
I did movie with Mae West, Robert Ryan, Rolf Bellamy, Claudia Cardinali, Burt Lancaster, Lee Marvin, Woody Strode.
And were these all Vegas-based movies, or you went somewhere? Hollywood.
Ira Breckenridge went to Hollywood.
Huh.
The Professionals with Burt Lancaster. We started here in Valley of Fire. Then we went to Indio, California. Then I made a movie with Pia Zadora and Telly Savalas here in town.
Pia Zadora, wow.
Yeah, that was a Pia.
Telly Savalas, now that's history.
There you go.
And you were opening act in several shows in this town,
No,
correct, on the Strip?
Primarily, I was a guest star of the Mills Brothers during the 70s. But when I started in 56, I was usually a star of a review or of a show in the lounge. I was the last opening act here in Las Vegas for Judy Garland. Yes.
So you have quite a history, my friend.
Well, with the grace of God, my 50 minutes of fame lasted 3.5 hours. Is more than any human should expect. I'm very happy with the career.
You did okay.
I know I did well.
Good-looking guy, fun guy, great dresser. That's what I noticed because I love wearing nice suits.
Thank you.
And when I came to the club, you were in a great suit. And he's not doing bad because Lorraine, his wife, is what, 30 years younger? 30 years younger, right?
24.
24?
24.
Close enough. Either way, you're doing okay.
Oh, yeah, and that's a blessing. I got to tell you, I hope that everybody else who gets married is as blessed and as lucky as I am.
Oh, that's
Because,
sweet. How
yeah.
did you guys enjoy Valentine's Day?
Very much so. We chopped some wood for the fireplace, you know. It's regular things.
Is that a Reagan thing? What is it, chopping wood for the fireplace? He's joking around. Yeah. All right, so once again, let's remind everybody we're heading to an ad break, but the Fiore Club
Are you
event.
done with me?
I'm done with you. I'm throwing you out.
I mean,
You're done.
throwing you out?
No,
No.
it's taking calls for the rest of the
Of
show. You're
course.
done. What do you want to take over the whole show?
No, of course.
Yeah, see, because he's so used to taking over acts on the stage in Las Vegas and movies. He thinks he can just take over the Wayne Root Show. So it's Thursday, the 9th
Thursday
of
the
March,
9th,
11:30
at the Italian American Club,
which is on Sahara near Eastern.
2333 East Sahara.
We don't have to explain that. Just go to the website, which is nonclubclubfiore.com.
But RSVP is a must.
Got RSVP to come to the event, the Italianization of Wayne on March 9th. And the email is nonclubclubfiore@gmail.com. I got it. Nelson Sardelli of Fiore, his beautiful wife Lorraine. Thank you for coming in. We greatly enjoyed having you.
Thank you very much.
Wayne Allyn, WA.R. Now we're taking a quick break. We come back. We really haven't done any calls on this show. I did one, and I usually fill the whole show with calls. So I'm just going to fill up the whole rest of the show. Call us our new toll-free number, 844-WAR-NOW-1, 844-WAR-NOW-1. I'm Wayne Allyn. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless. We'll see you on Thursday, March 9th. This is going to be fun. All of you are invited. RSVP, nonclubclubfiore@gmail.com. WAR Now. All right, Wayne Allyn, welcome back to WAR Now. We've got callers lined up. Before we get to, I want to mention Dane Sensor is in the studio now. He was a great guerrilla marketer and street campaigner and sign guy who had the greatest signs ever at every Trump rally. He calls himself the 5-star general of
street campaigning and signs.
And he is a guest in our show, or I should say a guest of the show and a person who came to watch the show today. And Dane just moved to Vegas, and he's looking for a job. He's looking for a gig. What are your skills? Very quickly, what can you do?
Marketing, promotions. I'm a promoter extraordinaire. Someone wants to be promoted. Public relations, special events. I do them all. 40 years of doing events and special stuff for fundraisers, anything. Just awesome. If you want to promote something, there isn't a better guy that can do it on a street campaign and signs.
Well, he certainly did it for Trump. Every event I went to, he was in the front row with the biggest signs and made it on the news. Every time the news media was interviewing him, it was the weirdest thing. I'm the opening speaker for Trump. They're interviewing Dane, not me. So you did a good job. You're a good promoter. How do people reach you?
Just call me on my cell phone, 805 area code. I just moved here, 806-1937.
Say it once more. People are in the car. Go ahead, one more time.
805 area code, 806-1937.
All right. Thank you, Dane Sensor.
Thank you.
If anybody's looking for a great promotions guy, great PR guy, great communications guy, great marketing branding guy, Dane Sensor, brand new to town, big Trump supporter, and all the Trump rallies all over the country. He was the one always in the news with his big signs supporting Trump, and now he's in Vegas and looking for a gig. All right, let's take some calls. We've got Deplorable Gary, one of our regulars on the line, who emailed me today to wish me a nice trip to Asia. I appreciate that. Hey, Gary, how are you?
Hey, there you are. I got a gig for Dane already. This is what I want to see. I want you to come back, be successful. I want you to go national, and I want you to go to war. And I want a coalition of all these conservative talk show hosts to get together and all put your voices together. And I want you to put the Starbucks out of business and really compete with the liberals. And there we go. Let's do this. Let's go to war for sure. I understand that the world is all about competition, and music is competition, and football is competition. But we got to get it together. These liberals are kicking our butts. Can I say that?
Well, they're better at branding. They've got Hollywood behind them, and they've got Madison Avenue behind them, and they're just better at branding. By the way, what was the job you had for Dane Sensor? What kind of gig did you say you had for him?
Well, he says he can put things together. He's like public relations and stuff like that. We need all you conservatives, all you famous conservatives, be in one room and be on TV. I don't care if it's public TV somewhere, and force the media to acknowledge it.
So you want Dane to organize your idea, is what you're telling me? You want Dane to do all the hard work and organize your idea?
No, not my idea. Your idea. This is your idea. You got a great one, and you're right on the money with Starbucks. But you're only one voice. You're not national yet.
All right. Well, soon I will be.
Everything you said is so right.
Soon I will be, and believe me, we're going to boycott a lot of people. Uber, Lyft, Starbucks, you name it, they're all going to get it.
Let's go national with it. Let's kick them where they deserve it. Thank you very much.
All right, DG, Deplorable Gary. We'll take line 3. We've got JD on the line. Hey, JD, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, but getting better.
I believe you're guest hosting tomorrow. Is that right?
I'll steer the ship for you while you're gone tomorrow, and we'll have a great show. And I'll do the best I can to keep everybody ready for the Wayne Allen Root National Show. I just wanted to make a quick call. I know you got callers to wish you a safe trip. Keep your head on a swivel and watch out for some young guy.
Oh, you mean the Korean? The Korean guy,
no,
yeah.
Some young guy is a Chinese dish.
It sounds like the Emperor of Korea to me, but in any case, you should have told that to his brother before they killed him with poison needles. All right, JD, thank you for the call, man. Do a great job tomorrow, knock 'em dead, and keep my audience in stitches. Appreciate it. We'll take a quick ad break. We get back your calls, 844-WAR-NOW-1, 844-WAR-NOW-1. We're getting professional here, man. We got toll-free numbers. My name's in it. The show is War Now. The phone number is 844-WAR-NOW. Aren't you proud? We got our act together, man. It took a year, but we're taking our act on the road all over the United States. But the flagship station is right here, and it is KBET, otherwise known as 790 AM. And the sister station is in Palm Springs, 98.1 FM. 844-WAR-NOW-1. We'll take your calls when we get back. Last segment of the show in the home stretch of my last 10 minutes before I'm gone for 2 weeks. Can you believe it? It's going to be tough. How do you break up this romance? I'll be back in 2 weeks. 844-WAR-NOW-1. All right, last home stretch of the show before I take off tomorrow for Asia. My good buddy Monty weighed in with an interesting text. I did not know this. I'm not a stock expert. Here I go again. Starbucks 52-week high is $61.64 a share. And Starbucks closed today at $56.73, off nearly $5 since Trump started his run. Market hitting all-time highs and Starbucks going backwards. Numbers don't lie. People lie. Make sure you say that on the show. And so I'm saying it on the show. Stock market hitting all-time highs, Starbucks going backwards. Very unusual. Bad things are happening. There you go. We've got lots of callers, and we'll take them. We'll take Brady on line 1. Brady, you're on with W.A.R. How are you?
Captain Root, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thank you. I just wanted to see if you saw what Mr. Trump did today. He signed that executive order in favor of the coal companies.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. He said personally he is going to bring back the coal mining industry, and a big thumbs up for that.
And you know why that's important? The average person listening, the average liberal is freaking out. You can never convince them. Doesn't matter. But the average person who isn't liberal, who's just open-minded, common sense, middle class, they may be going, why would we want dirty coal? Well, because coal is the only thing that keeps your prices down. It's the only efficient form of energy. It's the only fossil fuel that will keep your electric bill at $100 a month instead of $800 a month. And you can't afford $800 a month because you don't make enough money to pay an $800 bill. So you're going to be on the street if we get rid of coal and everything's about wind and solar. It's all a lie. It doesn't work. It's unaffordable, completely unaffordable. Only coal's affordable. And now they've got clean coal that burns really clean. So even the argument that it's ecologically a mess is just not the case. Brady, we got to run. We got to run, buddy. This time I got to cut you. I got one more caller. You are officially, Robert, the last caller of the show till I take off on my 2-week trip to Asia. So you win the booby prize. Last caller. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Great, sir. Thank you very much. One more question. If a person just wants to invest $1,000 with V.R.A., can you invest small amounts of money too?
You're asking if a person can invest with V.R.A., but there's no investment. You're literally buying his newsletter, and the newsletter shows you where to put your money. He never takes your money. V.R.A. does not collect your money. It's not a stock brokerage like Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs or something. You don't ever give him your money.
Oh, okay. But a person can take a small amount of money and still invest in a stock, right? If you only have a couple thousand.
Yes, we can't hear you very well, Robert. I got to cut you off because the listeners can't hear you at home, but I'll answer your question because I understood what you're saying. Yes, if you have a small amount of money, you can invest it based on the advice of Kip Herridge, who runs V.R.A., one of the sponsors of our show. He's asking about Kip. VRAletter.com is the website. And then to get his free book, it's VRAinsider.com. And so you can just take your money and you can invest in the stocks that Kip's newsletter recommends you investing in. He doesn't invest your money for you. He's not a stockbroker. He's not a bank. He doesn't take your money. That's why you could feel so secure about Kip. I mean, that's what's great about the guy is he never touches your money, but he helps you multiply it. Good stuff. So I'm taking off tomorrow very early in the morning for Asia. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. Great guest hosts in my stead. JD will be in tomorrow. And then next week, Oscar Goodman's in. Kevin Wall is in. The week after, Megan Barth is in. Lots of great guest hosts. And you're going to have a great time. I'll even call in on several shows and tell you what's happening in Asia and weigh in on what's happening with Donald Trump and the conservative world. I'll keep up on all the news for you. You can also go to my Facebook site, my Twitter site. I will remain active no matter where I am. I just may be posting in the middle of the night, which is, early morning my time will be middle of the night the day before your time. We're off by, I think, 12 hours. But in any case, I wish you all a great 2 weeks and a healthy 2 weeks and a happy 2 weeks and a productive 2 weeks. I hope Donald Trump gets his act in gear and takes on the media and wins big over the next 2 weeks. I'll be there praying with all you, and I hope I have a safe trip. Pray for me that I have a safe trip and a prosperous trip and a successful trip. We love you all. I love this show. Can't wait to be back. W.A.R. now.